Mullally, Nick Offerman. That's who we're sitting here talking to, in case you didn't catch on.
There's going to be some kind of intro that we'll put after the fact, dude. They don't.
I think
you're not
so.
telling them anything new right now. They already
I was
know.
Told to. I'm just trying to be a good boy.
Okay,
we hate intro.
You're right.
Now you'll know for sure. Nick, say,
"Good afternoon."
The signature, the brand.
All right, now we know who we're talking to.
Let's get back to them.
Yeah.
So you guys met on Berlin Circle.
Yes,
right?
in the year 2000, ironically. And I was between the second and third seasons of Will and Grace during the hiatus, and Nick was and I knew this guy who was the producer, and he was like, "What are you doing? Do you want to read this script? Do you want to do this thing?" So I thought, oh yeah, that seems fun. It's like an equity waiver play that we did called the Berlin Circle. And Nick was living in someone's unfinished basement with no floor. And he would just, like, in the night, if he had to pee, he'd just go over in the corner and like pee.
Okay. You had to train that out of him though, right?
I mean, that's
no,
one
he
advantage.
still does it.
One advantage of the dirt floor. By morning, it's gone. It's undetectable.
Yeah. In our bedroom now, we just, in one little corner, it's just dirt. So he can.
That's good. You put that dirt in the corner.
He wasn't able to shake it.
But I want to get into how did you guys, how did that all just develop?
I know. It's funny because on paper, it doesn't seem like it would have happened. But
because, why do you say that?
Well, he was driving.
Because you're more sophisticated and refined.
Out maroon convertible. What kind of car was it?
A Chevy Cavalier.
Chevy Cavalier. Like, what year was it?
It was a 91.
Okay. And
one of the good years.
And he was wearing like gold overalls that were his notepad. So anything he had to remember, he'd just write it on his overalls. The first time we went out to dinner, he tucked his napkin into the bib of said overalls. So like I'm saying, on paper, but he came up and introduced himself to me on the first day when we did a reading of the script. And he was like the only person, because I think the other people thought like, oh, she's like on TV. We're gonna ignore her before she ignores us, And he came up and introduced himself. And so I was like, okay. But I don't know, my previous type had been quite different from Nick, like very like skinny, androgynous, like rock drummers. And so
wow, I'm surprised we didn't hook up.
Yes. You are very much my type.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't that just go for most women within a 3-state radius of you?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. Ted's every woman's type.
I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who in that moment of meeting, sparks flew for whom first?
You're looking at him.
Well, that's the way it has to be, or should be. Nick, speak for yourself.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I hate to belittle it as to be as conventional as because I felt like we were on such different echelons. Like, there's no way Megan should have done this play. She was about to win her first Emmy that fall. Will and Grace, so she had become this, world comedy champion. And she did a play for free with strangers because she thought it would be fun, which just doesn't make sense. That's simply not done. And so to meet her, I guess there were levels of sparks, because at first I just was like, oh, you're really funny. We had done our first read through, and I was like, oh shit, you're a genius. And then I introduced myself and was like, oh, this is going to be fun. And she then was like real with me and we just were friendly and cordial. I was like, oh, you're like a real person, but you're also like a Mel Brooks movie. And so I was fascinated, and it was all kind of magical. And I had to get through a few different levels, I think, before I was like, oh, I'm getting a boner. Also, this is, oh, you're a human woman.
I
Shit.
knew you were getting a boner before you knew you were getting a boner.
Still do.
As you are, yeah.
Wow.
We haven't even gotten to the first commercial yet.
No. Oh God, do we do commercials? I guess we do, don't we?
This one will have to
We
be
haven't
about
done it.
erectile dysfunction.
Hey, look.
No, I'm
I
just
told you
saying.
that in private. God, bless me. All right. So then, who made the first move? Keep going.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. So, I mean, we began the ways, as I'm sure you guys are aware, that sort of backstage or off-screen friendship when you are with like-minded performers and you have time on your hands. And in the theater, I think for me, it's a lot more like when you're in church and you are giggling with your friend or your cousin because somebody farted in the middle
Right.
of church. It's that sensibility. So whispering filthy things to each other by way of making friends before we're about to enter a scene on stage is a great bonding category. And so we were doing that, and it really, I mean, it took me by surprise because I had a class problem. I was a broke, actor living in a basement, drinking too much bourbon. And so it took me a while to swallow the idea that there could be chemistry, that I was like, oh, she is treating me like I'm legitimate. And I was terrified. I had the worst butterflies. But it was clearly heating. The heat, the brew, the goulash was warming up. And one day after rehearsal, she was pulling out in a gorgeous Range Rover, and even that was like a flying saucer to me. And I I went over and opened the passenger door as she was about to pull into the street, and got in to simply to say to her, this is, I'm not crazy, right? There's something here, right? And she said, I don't know what you think is happening, but you can get right back out of this vehicle. and I said, well, hear me out. And so, I mean, I think that was kind of the first official overt
That seems like
move.
about the worst thing you could hear. I don't know what you think is happening, but you can get out of this vehicle?
Yeah, it's
I think
doesn't
I
seem
said,
like
but you
a-
can get out of my Range Rover, to be clear.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah, get out of her
Well, how do
Range
you
Rover.
know?
You
How
Yeah,
bum.
did you
no, I
not-
mean, I had started thinking he was funny, and the other thing that dawns on me is that I had only done these 2 seasons of Will and Grace, and any kind of success or any kind of like having a Range Rover was very new to me, and so I was sort of still in a mindset of like doing a play for $7 a week and
And talking to the peasants.
yeah, talking to and so that's why I think it never
labor.
really occurred to me that it's just that when you look back on it, it's funny. Like it seems like there would have been this huge divide, but there really wasn't. And I had started
Not
thinking
for
he
you.
was funny. No, and I had started thinking he was funny, and that was the attraction, and then so I think that's how it all evolved. And I think my saying get out of the Range Rover was more about not wanting to rush into something, especially since we were doing this play together, and wanting to take it really slowly.
It should be
Which we did.
it should be noted that I did not, in fact, get out of the Range
You
Rover.
did.
I mean, I did, but we were you basically intimated, yes, maybe something is going on here. Now get the fuck out of my
Oh.
Range Rover.
Yeah.
That'll do,
Oh,
though. That'll
okay.
do. You
Yeah,
got out
yeah.
with a spring in your
That's-
step.
Exactly.
No,
yeah.
I was in
Maybe
for the long
something.
haul.
Yeah, no, I wasn't being brutal. I was just being cautious. Coy, yeah. The rules, no, not that. That's dumb. Wasn't that a book, The Rules? I didn't read it.
I don't know. Let me back up just 1 second, because when I first met you guys, it was like, oh, they're actors. Saw you in Will and Grace. She's an actor. I got it. I'm an actor. Yeah, we're on the same thing here. And when I met you on Fargo, it was the same thing. Oh, I got it. He's an actor. Really good. You're both really good, but I'm like you. And then I see you, Megan, do, what was it, Megan? No, Nancy and Beth.
Mm.
And I have never, which was song, dance, but to say that it brings it down a notch because it was the most extraordinarily creative thing I've ever seen. It was just mind-boggling. And so it was like, oh, shoot, all right, she's an actor. No, she's like this genius talent, dancing, singing, and knocked me for a loop. Then I find out, Nick, that you have your own woodworking shop and you build, your own canoes, you build tables, you have a for real going business of being a woodman, a woodworker. And you write the most incredible books. You are a humorist. It's like, y'all left me in the dust, so I almost don't know how to begin asking you questions. But you are truly a remarkably creative couple.
Thank you, Ted. Yeah, I had this band called Nancy and Beth. And
.com. Nancy, A-N-D, Beth.com, if you'd like to check it out.
My manager. And
so
shit. It's being reinvented right now because for a variety of reasons. But yeah, it's going to be better than ever. We have a record that's going to come out next year. And thank you, though. It's a band where we do all covers and I choreograph every song. And it's a little bit, I think it's a little avant-garde, but it very like crowd pleaser at the same time. What were you going to say?
Oh, man, I can't wait to see this. But because you did you really started in ballet like when you were a kid, I didn't know anything about that. Like then you were in Oklahoma City ballet, and then you went into the what was the one in New York?
Oh, New York City Ballet. Yeah, I went School of American Ballet, which is New York City Ballet School. I studied there. Yeah.
So you were really thinking, I'm going to be a ballerina.
Yeah.
That was your focus.
That was what I was going to do until I realized it was too motherfucking hard. It was like my toenails were falling off, and I was like, no, thank you. This is too much. So I decided that I liked the sort of acting, like the couple of ballets that I had the lead in. What I really liked was the acting part of it. But my main thing always, even more than that, was I loved to sing. So that was sort of my first love, was just music, anything involving music. Yeah.
Great.
How would you describe Nancy and Beth, the movement? Because when you say you sing and you dance, but it's not just dance. I mean, it's like this amazing movement to the music. So it is dance, but how would you describe it?
Well, I think it's just very like, I try to like take each song and create like a little world for it. So the movement styles are a little bit different from song to song. And of course, I'm too old to do, anything crazy dance-wise, but I feel like you can really do so much without like doing anything crazy, like anything too aerobic or anything like involving a lot of like jumping or. So I feel like I would just like listen to each song and get in front of a mirror. And we have one little room in our house that has one little wall of mirrors. So I would like listen to the song and just let it kind of come out. So I want to express the lyrics in a way that's either kind of, and or funny, or moving, or thought-provoking, or kind of like reinvent the movement to go with each song. And like I do a lot of choreography using a chair where we were like sit on a chair, lay on a chair, do a lot of crazy things with that. We had one song that was like more of an old-fashioned, like a hat and cane kind of like song. So it's just a big variety of, just depending on the song. The key to the band for me is picking the right songs and then coming up with how to interpret them through, singing and movement.
Right.
Well, if you're going to do the chair song, you got to do Auf Wiedersehen, mein Herr. It was a fine affair.
That's my favorite. I love
it's
cabaret.
I love cabaret. That's
100%.
And her stuff would fit very well. It's of a piece with the cabaret because I was going to say you make each song like a piece of theater.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. That's a good way to say it.
I'm trying to create a little world. Each song is its own little world. Yeah.
Now, will you be able to go with Megan? Because I know you sometimes join up and do stuff together.
Yeah, whenever possible. I mean, we have a lot of fun where I step into the dad role and I drive the tour truck. So I'll be her driver.
When we've been on tour before, we've done like longer tours that were more like, 6 weeks or 7 weeks. He'll come out, at a certain point you got to introduce the band, right? It's a great band, like 5 other, it's 7 people total. And he'll come out and introduce the band. And of course,
people go wild.
They love it. He does like really funny intros for everybody. It's really great. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I need to earn my keep.
Now, one thing I haven't seen and I wanted to check out is you guys also do a song and dance thing together, don't you? That's separate from what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, we toured. We did a tour where we kind of combined our chocolate and peanut butter.
What was the name of the tour?
The name of the tour was Summer of '69, no apostrophe.
It's every summer in our house.
Yeah, or just summer at our house.
When we got married in 2003, I don't know why, I was like, we had a little small wedding in our backyard. It was only 20 people total. But then we were going to have a reception, which never happened, and invite everybody. And I was like, I got it into my head that I wanted to choreograph Nick and I doing Carly Simon, Nobody Does It Better. And so then I did for the tour. So it was pretty involved. Nick tore his meniscus at one point.
That's right.
But we were doing like lifts and like running around in a circle doing grunge-jetés. I mean, it was pretty crazy. Yeah. It was really fun.
Is that a one-off or do you think you'll do that again?
You have to talk to the boss.
Yeah, I want to do it. I wanted to have like a big party, and I wanted to do like a flash mob where we'd get like other people like to dance, and we'd just play it, and then we'd have like Nick and I would start, and then like 15 other people would join in.
Yeah, we like to have fun, and I wanted to say thank you for complimenting my other work earlier, and the answer to that is when you're not the lead of a TV series or film, you have a lot of time on your hands to build canoes and write books. So,
well, we met in
you two will never become great boat builders.
I love it. That's funny.
I just admire it. Like
I know.
I started recently. Like for Christmas, I gave my family and friends. I would give them either. I made spoons. And I made chopsticks. Now, this is obviously small potatoes for you. It involved a lot of sanding for me, though.
It's huge. To take a stick and turn it into something that will carry soup is a superpower.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I thought you might demean, and instead I feel lifted up, so thank you.
That's not my bag.
But I was also going to say that Nick, so when we met in 2000, and then he was working as an actor, but it was pretty sporadic, and he didn't get Parks and Rec till 2009. So rather than just like laying around the house, he got this space and he created a wood shop, and he started like making furniture all the time and then hiring people to work there, and it turned into a whole thing.
This is big time. This is not me in my garage whittling or trying to make a stool.
He has, how many people are working in your shop right now?
4 now. Yeah.
But it has been as many as how many?
6 or 7. Yeah.
And you're filling orders not just for friends or for your own canoe, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what is it you make? I know I've seen some of your tables, Zach Galifianakis has a beautiful dining room table that
Thank
you
you.
made.
We call that Zeus's wagon wheel.
Because it's like a lazy Susan,
Yeah,
right?
it's
As well.
It's pretty astonishing. You could park a Hummer on that thing because
Yeah.
he's very green, and he took this warehouse in Venice, and they were going to turn it into a living space, but he wanted to reuse all of the materials they pulled out,
Right.
which included these gigantic laminated wooden beams. And he said, "Can you make us a dining table out of these giant beams?" And we said, "Sure." It'll weigh 3 tons. Like, you'll need a forklift to move it around. But so we make bespoke pieces, custom pieces, but then also we work with a great program called Woodworks downtown that teaches people living with homelessness. We teach them woodworking skills so they can then get a job reference and help them get back on their feet. So
that's great.
So with that program, we make cutting boards and coasters, things that are simpler,
right?
But they're also more affordable. So if fans want to get something, our tables are stupidly expensive.
Yeah.
But
if you need any guidance on chopsticks, let me know.
I will. We'll maybe work a
joint venture.
Yeah, we'll do like a seminar, a workshop.
Have you been able to track whether or not any of the kids that came into the workshop, it actually was a springboard for them into something else? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, the most badass woman in my shop right now is named Diane, and she had a life of misfortune and just a lot of abuse, and found her way into this program, and now she desperately wanted to learn woodworking. She loves it. And now she's like the leader.
Oh,
she's our number one woodworker.
It's kind of like what I did with
so
Nick.
Cool.
It is.
Shape him, form him.
Megan rescued me
Rehabilitated
in 2000. She got me my shots.
Got him some.
Gave you a bath.
Took me to J. Crew and bought me a bunch of sweaters. And here we are.
This has been a great day. This morning we were with Jimmy Burrows.
Oh, nice. I love Jimmy.
Yeah, it was
Sweetheart.
cool.
Yeah.
You worked with him for how many did he do?
He did the whole
246 episodes. He did every episode of Will and Grace.
He didn't miss one.
11
That's
seasons.
6 more than he did on Cheers. So
That's right.
fuck him.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have
No
known that
loyalty.
before we did the interview.
We were all
with
over him.
and
We
I'd have
love you,
been-
Jimmy. We love you.
Yeah, we love you. And now,
Is he one of your favorite directors?
Yep, absolutely. He's the best. And he gave me total freedom. Like, the thing about Jimmy is, I don't think he ever said to me, don't do that.
Yeah.
He only said, do that, but do it more.
Yeah.
He said, do that, and then what else can you add on to that?
but you
never
did
said
something.
don't.
You did something I've never seen, which is, when I watched the pilot, you speak differently than you started in the next episode.
Yeah,
Like,
I think it was.
I think we talked about this back then.
I
But
think so, yeah.
What was tell me how you saw the pilot and you had a revelation, or?
No, it hadn't aired yet. I think what happened was when I auditioned for it, I had always gone into auditions kind of like the acting version of that band Nancy and Beth that you were talking about, where I would come in with something so crazy that I knew in my heart was amazing and they knew in their hearts was definitely not what they wanted. So I think when I auditioned for Will and Grace, I thought, okay, I'll just like the pilot was written, it wasn't, I don't know, in my opinion, it wasn't a very interesting, it was kind of like I'd seen it before, kind of sidekick thing. And it's just my opinion. And so when I went in, I thought, okay, well, I'll just do it the way it's written. And then I got the part. And then as it was going along, I was like, I'm just going to start like zhuzhing this up a little bit, episode by episode. And I think by episode 10, it was kind of there. Like I had sort of like gotten it more or less where I wanted it. And then, yeah. So I think it was like a subtle thing where I don't know if they necessarily, we're
There's a
noticing
pretty
the
stark
incremental.
difference if you look at the first episode
It
from
really is.
It is crazy.
what it became.
Yeah.
You know, which I just was like, oh my God, I didn't even know you could do that. But it just,
I
you
felt
can't argue with the result.
Yeah, in the pilot, I felt very eggy, which is the term in showbiz, right? You know, eggy, where you feel like you've got egg on your face. And I felt it was very eggy. And then as it went along, I was like, okay, yeah.
This
work
egg
with
is
this.
good egg.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So it became that. And then they really like jumped on board, they being the writers, and they started like writing to it, and then they would come in with something I hadn't thought of, and then I would play to that, and then we started building on each other's on the the writing and the acting, and it all started coming together really well. Yeah.
That was a huge show. I mean, politically in every way.
Yeah, it was groundbreaking in a lot of ways, and yeah, and as for Jimmy, like I really love him for giving me the leeway to do what I needed to do, and then I feel like sometimes in other things since then, when directors try to give me a lot of they try to like if I have an idea that I think will be good, and it's very early on, and they're like, no, what are you doing? Like, no, I see it this way. I'm always like, where's Jimmy?
Where's Jimmy?
And I just did a movie that Larry Charles directed, and he was amazing also in that same way of like, go, do it. So I love that.
Yeah. I think some writers, if they didn't write it, it's very hard to pitch them another idea because no, that's not my idea.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And back from our day, it was all like there was no way that anybody would ever have improvised anything. And it's so different now. Like everybody improvises and people want it.
Yeah. Which has good and bad results. Because sometimes you'll go along with a movie and you'll go, that's a good story. Oh, there they go.
Yeah.
A little fancy turn that kind of takes you out of the story.
It's rough when you're like doing scenes or whatever. And there's one person who really can't improvise, right? Or maybe more than one, but often there'll be one person, but then they never stop throwing in new bad lines,
right?
Like they just keep, and it's like, how do we continue? Anyway,
they call me improviser killer. I will improvise with you, and I'll be having fun. It'll be great, and then I get scared, like someone's chasing me, and I freeze and scream, and I do scream. And that's usually the end of the improv.
I mean,
I'm fun to have around.
It's good to have limits.
Yeah. Let me talk to you for a second, because we share a director, writer, creator, Mike Schur.
That's right.
Yeah, Parks and Rec. Was that the first kind of big leap for you acting wise?
Yeah. I mean, I was very happy. I was Mr. Mullally. I had a wood shop, and I was working regularly at guest star jobs and Sundance movies. And we were big fans of The Office, The American Office, and I have known Rainn Wilson a long time. And I said to Megan, if I'm ever going to make it, if I'm going to break out, it's going to be on a show like The Office in a role like Dwight Schrute. And then I auditioned for Mike for a part on The Office, and I couldn't do it. So he ended up, when he then created Parks and Rec, he remembered me and wanted to put me on it. And so that's exactly what happened. Was, if Ron Swanson was like any other character, it was similar to the Dwight Schrute paradigm. And so from the get-go, it's just that thing where he saw me, he saw through the facial hair to a spark of charisma, where he's like, I think I can turn you into something palatable to an audience. And by God, he did.
That was a great character.
He said, if you just say these words in the right order, by God, they'll laugh. And he's this wonderful, great-hearted guy.
Mike Schur, you're talking.
Mike Schur, yeah. I think my second book had dedicated to him and said, "Thank you for showing me how funny we can be while saying I love you." Because
That's great.
that's kind of his thing. Like
it is.
He's a highly intelligent guy, came through the Harvard comedy pipeline.
Right.
Following our show's other creator, Greg Daniels, who was Harvard roommates with Conan, and who, under whose auspices I'm drinking his water right now, in fact.
Yeah, you are. This is Conan's water.
It's good.
It is good.
It's good. It's clean.
Yeah.
It's from Iceland. But I mean, he's in. I love these people that go to Ivy League schools and could become like captains of industry, but they say, you know what would be really fun? What if we make people laugh? Yeah. What if we tell stories and they're medicinal?
Yeah.
And Mike is one of the greatest examples of that. I mean, your show is a show about morality.
Yeah. Who knew?
Yeah.
It's taught. The Good Place is taught in some universities as part of their ethics.
Really?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
literally. Notre Dame had I don't know if it's still going on, but they taught, we had on speed dial, we had like 3 or 4 ethics professors who would talk to the writers daily to make sure what we were talking about was right.
Was ethical?
Yeah, it was ethical. It wasn't.
Sometimes it's good to get a second, third opinion.
But now, I hadn't seen this, but there's a clip of your relationship, you and Megan's. I don't fill us all in on the relationship, but it was the funniest, hottest.
Oh, right.
Oh, was this when you guys toured together?
No, this is on the show on Parks and Rec. You came in as his
Tammy
on again,
too.
off again.
His ex-wife, Tammy too.
My second ex-wife, yeah.
All of his wives were named Tammy.
But it was violent. It was passionate. It was
in
insane.
The diner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that first episode was so fun that we shot. The first Tammy episode. The very first scene that we shot was so early. It was like 6:30 in the morning. And we were shooting in Burbank, some location. It was a motel. And we were supposed to be like desperately trying to get to this motel so that we could like get it on. And so we're in this crazy car, supposed to be Ron Swanson's car, whatever it was. Nick was driving and I was in the passenger seat. And I was like, I'm going to take my bra off. So I took my bra off and then they were like, they were like, action.
On camera.
Yeah. This was off camera. I took my bra off and I had it and they were like, action. So he like screeches into this parking lot and I like throw my bra out the window of the car. We get out of the car, slam the doors, run in, and I pulled my sweater off and they had to put like a circle, like a dark circle to block out my boob. And we ran into the motel. Then like this guy comes over and he's like, hi, I'm the director. Like I hadn't met anybody yet. He like introduced himself. Who was it?
Troy Miller.
He's like, hi, I'm Troy. I'm the director. I was like, nice to meet you.
Great first take.
And they used it, right?
Yeah.
And then that same day we went to a diner and they at a certain point were like, just do whatever you need to do. And so we were like wildly like making out on the table and throwing things. So they had, atmosphere people as customers, throwing food at people. We asked them first if we could do it. And then Nick at one point was so like, Ron Swanson is so like riled up on testosterone that Nick actually pulled we were in a booth at this diner. He pulled the table out of the wall. The real table. He pulled it out of the wall.
It was some of the best. Have you seen that kind of compilation of your relationship?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is.
Megan, when they came up with the idea and Megan agreed to do it, she took me out in the backyard for kissing practice.
Like violent,
To-
disgusting
like a-
kissing.
A
So you don't
safe.
hurt
We had to come
yourself.
up with
Yeah.
like new ways to kiss that would
Who
freak
was that or
people
put
out.
newspaper down in the house?
That's
It's
right.
better to get
That's right.
outside.
Right.
The dirt area wasn't big enough in the bedroom. Mike Scully wrote that episode, and
Such a
he
good
sadly had an acrimonious divorce, but he then like openly said, "But here, it's
Here.
all in this script."
This is you,
It's a
darling.
really funny script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's
So when did Parks and Rec kind of open up more leading man film feature stuff?
I mean, when the show kind of caught on in first couple of years, it was just one of those things where it changed, where a certain much larger audience was like, "Oh, that guy with the mustache." But it's interesting because I don't know, I still feel like I'm kind of an underground property. I didn't become Steve Carell or something. But shows like Fargo, like Noah Hawley got a hold of me and said,
Yeah.
"How would you like to do something?"
Which is how we met.
Yeah. And so I've been really grateful for the way it went, because that show was a blast. It was very well received. And then it became even exponentially more popular in the time of streaming. So
Right.
young people now don't realize that it actually was never a hit. It was critically well received, but only then later it became like a comfort show.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
we were not we didn't get awards. In fact, we were almost canceled every year. It was always a question
Oh,
mark.
that's right. I remember hearing that.
How many seasons?
7 seasons.
Yeah. Well,
So we had a great run,
yeah.
and I'm very grateful. But I'm also glad that the world still allows me to do other roles.
Yeah.
Um,
Forgive me. I'm forgetting the name of the movie that you so graciously asked me to do with you.
Hearts Beat Loud.
Hearts Beat Loud. I was so impressed with you. It was like, because you do, and the work before this comes across as a character actor, and I think this was your first full-on romantic lead.
Sure.
And
In a
you
film,
just
yeah.
hit it out of the park. You were
Oh, thanks.
so good.
Such a good movie.
Yeah, really lovely.
Thank you. Brett Haley made that film.
Yeah.
And Kiersey Clements, who plays my daughter, kind of steals the movie. We have a band together, and
Yeah.
she sings. And it was so, you and I had become friendly, but not good buddies.
Yeah.
And so it was a little bit of a flyer where I called you out of the blue and asked you if you would come to Brooklyn and do like 3 scenes as my buddy.
Yeah.
And you agreed to do it without reading the script, which is incredibly generous.
Or just smart.
You said you named the amount of marijuana you required.
Yeah. I called Woody first, and he said, this is what is okay to
Come
ask.
on down to the woods, 8271 Santa Monica Boulevard. Anyway,
You were magnificent in that. And I felt like our relationship was cemented forever.
It was so fun. It was so fun to have you play my bartender,
Yeah.
as everyone can attest.
It's so funny whenever I'm asked to get behind a bar, whether it's charity or in your film, scares the crap out of me. I start to sweat. I feel just,
Sure.
I don't know why, but anyway, PTSD from Cheers, something.
Well, we all wondered, what do I still have it?
Yeah, I think that's
Can
it.
I
Yeah.
still shake it?
Can I
He's thinking
still
rum
cut a
and
lemon
Coke.
or
What's
two?
in it? Rum and Coke. What the hell?
I got one for you. Your books. When did you know you could be, your writing is, you really are a humorist, and your writing is so wonderfully worded. It's not everyday language. It's an elevated language. And you're talking about, and the last one I read about, the environment, about our parks, and about beauty and being out in the wilderness. But you write like, you're a buddy of Thoreau, or it's amazing. When did you know you had that ability?
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't know. When I was in high school, I wrote one paper for my senior final in English class, where the teacher taped a poem on the board, and you had 3 hours to write an essay. He said, here's your subject matter. You got 3 hours, go. And with a piece of masking tape. And so I made up a history of masking tape that was very smart ass. But I just had this idea and he was and I was a good student, but not exemplary. And my teacher, read it to the school. He was like, "We have an original voice here," and he thought it was thought it was brilliant and funny.
Do you have it?
I don't. I should.
When that was happening, you must have been so psyched.
I was really stoked because I come from a small farm town, very conservative, and so it was me sort of taking a Megan Mullally swing of I want to do something weird here. I'm going to take a chance. And, but I'd never aspired to writing books. Only later I had the opportunity, and I said, well, I think I could take a swing at this. I love Bill Bryson and Garrison Keillor.
Right.
And of course, Mark Twain. But I was I think my family's funny, and they're bucolic and folksy. And so...
And not in an attempt to take credit for your writing career, but I always thought, thinly veiled attempt, I always thought that you, even just your emails and stuff, I'd be like, honey, this is so good. If I had anything important that I needed to write in an email back in the day, I'd be like, could you write it?
You're right. No,
he's just a
not
natural.
Only that, even before email, I used to always leave.
Notes.
I'd get up early to go to the shop, and I'd leave a Post-it for Megan, and I'd come home and she'd be like, "This Post-it is really good."
And listen, I saved every single one. I have everything he's ever written on paper saved.
Oh my God!
I love that.
Every single thing, every note, every card, every Post-it.
It almost has a language of yore. It's like.
Ugh.
Not of this moment.
I know. It's sad. It freaks me out.
I appreciate it, and it's something that I don't take for granted, to have the opportunity to have a readership and try to in whatever I'm trying to learn about. I try to do that with my audience, and I'm very grateful I get to do it, because it also keeps me curious. It keeps me young, because I'm still trying to learn. I'm very interested in people making things with their hands, like spoons, but also people knowing where their food comes from, and getting back in touch with farming and understanding farming and forestry. And so, to remain in that conversation helps us live better.
Yeah.
Helps us all keep an eye on citizenship.
Did you see, Woody, what is the movie you did, the
Kiss
soil?
the Ground.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss the Ground. Did you see
What
that?
do you think of regenerative agriculture?
I love it. I own some cows in England. It's something that I'm a big cheerleader of.
And they're just in a warehouse, or are they out on the field, or how's that work?
They are in a herd. A friend of mine is a shepherd, and so he's a popular nature writer and regenerative supporter.
Oh, great!
And so it's very grass fed.
Is his name
James
King Charles?
No.
Okay.
Which he is, though.
His name's
King Charles is
Prince
the biggest regenerative agriculture guy, I think, in the world.
He is. No, it's and their government does a much better job than ours does.
Wait, get James's name out there.
Oh, James Rebanks is my friend. He's and he has great books called The Shepherd's Life.
Beautiful farm up in northern England near Scotland. Beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and in Kentucky, my favorite writer, Wendell Berry, is a great agrarian. So my last book was inspired by a conversation with Wendell, just about that. About we no longer know where our food comes from, and that allows corporations.
It comes from the store, honey.
Exactly. And so people take advantage of that, and they sell us food that's not that good for anybody.
Old Frankenfood.
That's right.
Woody, Woody's boy on the same page with you on that.
Yeah, I would like to see it all shift. The corporate agriculture has just become so, it's disgusting, and especially the pesticides, and I don't understand how the pesticides are still absolutely A-okay.
Yeah.
Just massive amount of pesticides put on our food.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you don't think that there's a nerve gas gets into you, whatever.
And in some states, I think that you can't get a bank loan unless you sign on to Monsanto.
You have to have Monsanto seeds, and you have to obviously use the pesticides that go with those seeds, fertilizers and such. But before we get too depressed,
let's have a hamburger. No, sorry, go on.
I just, it's amazing because you're both of you are so original at what you do. Like to be so, to have a couple here, but both of them are extraordinary. Usually it's one. Let's face it. One's amazing in a couple, and the other person's kind of there, just kind of there for ballast or whatever. But
there should be a projection of Mary Steenburgen,
right?
Yes.
And her ballast. Me.
This
is my friend.
That's a bottom heavy ticket.
Pshaw.
Yeah. Now, what about you guys? So you were raised Catholic and you were raised Episcopalian?
Well, I went to Episcopalian school, but my mother was Catholic.
Conflict?
Yeah.
You guys?
And I mean, we both, I think early on when I was 9, I got in the car after Sunday school and I informed my mother that I wouldn't be returning or to church. And she had 2 nuns in full, this is back when they wore the full black habits, come over and sit in our living room and bless me so that I'd be good to go for life.
Oh.
And they gave me a little oval thing of the Virgin Mary that I still have. And it had a little teeny 1/16 of an inch square wrapped in tin foil in it. And it was supposed to be a piece of the Shroud of Turin.
Which are
I was like, you guys are hooked up. Like these 2 nuns from some place in Oklahoma City got a hold of the Shroud of Turin. Yeah.
I thought they were going to give you the old lecture. You're going to go to hell if you don't.
No, they set me up for life.
Oh, so your mom said, "Come on in, do this," and let her.
She said, "Look, she's out. What do I do?" And they were like, "We've got this." And they came over and
that's kind of sweet.
I thought it was
bon
nice.
voyage and with
it's
love
they put the spell on me.
It is. That's a good parenting style. Instead of saying no, I'm going to fight your impulse.
Yeah,
it was really cool. And my mom, she was cool.
And you, Mr. Catholic?
I was. My mom and dad are still very influential in our hometown Catholic church. All the kids pretty much quit going, but I think we all have great values. I think, I don't know, for me, organized religion is not as effective as Eastern religions. I get a lot more churchy feeling out in the woods where I'm like, oh shit, this feels holy. As opposed to, the drudgery, at least in my upbringing, church was a drudgery. And I was like, man, you're talking about rapture and, passionate feelings and faith, and everyone's just kind of droning and can't wait to get to the football game. So I've remained very spiritual and my mom and dad just lead the most incredible lives of service. And I think me and my 3 siblings really aspire to them without needing to bring any religious text into it.
Right.
Well, it seems like the whole Catholic thing. Now, I don't want to be inappropriate here, but Catholic and Episcopalian, it seems like couldn't they zhuzh it up a little? I mean, could they make it more boring? It's so boring.
So boring.
Yeah.
And then Catholic, you got all the stuff in Latin. It's like,
But
okay,
if you know Latin,
first of
it's
all,
really
I don't
crazy,
understand. Do you know Latin? I didn't even
all
know
the
that
churches
you
in
spoke
Amo
Latin.
amasamat. Never mind. I'm out.
Yeah, I agree.
It's true. Some churches in the South, you'd go, yeah, now I want to be part of this.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, they make it fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Episcopal, or rather, what
Baptist.
are they? Huh?
Baptist.
No, what's the one? Yeah, Southern Baptist, but also even further, starts with a P.
Oh, Pentecostal.
Pentecostal.
Yeah.
You know, and they're shaking and
That's right.
speaking in tongues. Now, that to me, even
That's
if you
a
don't
party.
believe it, it's good theater.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We just lost the Midwest, but moving on.
Have the decency to have a rock band.
I'm
on
not
the
saying I
altar.
don't believe. Huh?
Have the decency to have a rock band on the
Yeah.
altar.
Get a rock band up there, Christian rock.
If the phone rings and you answered, are you hoping for a playwright to call you, or a book deal, or a TV, or a film, or a dance? You have so many outlets.
You don't seem like the type of people who wait for the phone to ring, though. You're
No, I
doing
always
stuff.
forget
You're
about it.
making your own magic, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, both of you, you're doing. What's it matter if the phone rings? Great if the phone rings, but like you're doing your own thing.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about
I
the
admire it.
project that you found your mom's letters in a trunk?
I was thinking about that when you said that a minute ago. So I found, when my mom died, I found 2 giant barrels that they would ship things in, like China, and like big giant barrels that would come like 3 feet high and maybe like 2 feet around, stuffed with letters. And they're all from the 30s and 40s, primarily. Yeah, 30s and 40s. Thousands of letters, right? Okay, so my mom saved all of her letters from the time she was, and her mom had saved all of her letters from the time she was like 7 or 8 years old, like writing a letter to her grandparents or whatever. Okay, so she has everything she ever wrote, all of my grandmother's letters that my grandmother ever wrote to her, all of my aunt's letters, etc., including 732 love letters that were written to my mom. Some of the guys, like, they weren't, like, my mom wasn't like a big, famous prostitute.
It wasn't
or something.
732 guys, was it?
No, it was, so some of the guys, so some of them, like, say 300 of those are like wannabes, like also rans, right?
Right.
But then there were like the main guys that she was engaged
So
to a couple of different guys.
400-something guys were not the also ran.
So some of the guys, so say there were like 10 guys that she dated from the time she was like in high school until she met my father when she was 26, right? So for 10 years, she dated maybe like 10 different guys. Like, she was in college and she was seeing like 1 or 2 guys like at the same time. But
no one's judging.
she wasn't, I know, but they were all virgins. So everybody was a virgin, right? And it was
Right.
so chaste. And so some of the guys wrote like 100 letters. So that's how it
Oh, I
all
see.
added up. Anyway, I'm getting ready to write something, to write a podcast where I also have all of my dad's letters, but that's a whole other story. I wanted to do a podcast where each episode is a different suitor of my mom's. And because I'm telling you, these letters are so heartbreaking. These guys were so, I also have photos of all of them, and they were so cute. They all look like movie stars. It's crazy.
And they
My
were
mom
all,
was
all totally in
beautiful.
love with your mom.
Totally in love. My mom was the most beautiful girl in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, gorgeous. She was a model for a while in New York, but like, she's a sweet person, and so like the girl next door. But anyway, I wanted to like focus on a different guy for each episode, and the letters are just heartbreakingly. They're so funny and sweet, and insightful. And then, the joke is that she met my father, who was hideous. And for some reason, that's the one she picked. He was just heinous person. So
Is
there
that
you
how
go.
you feel about Pops?
Yes.
Not a good dad.
No, he was a really bad alcoholic and he cheated on my mom constantly. So he wasn't great. But I mean, he had like moments where he was really funny. So he had moments of being funny, but no, not good. I felt my poor mom was so nice.
Well,
But
this would be a kind of a wonderful honoring of your mom and her happy love life.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Are you going to do it?
Mm-hmm. I want to write. It has to be written though, because it's not a loosey goosey. You really have to
Not all cohesive.
Yeah, you really want to like make it right and get it all in there.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's also pretty incredible and kind of a bummer in a way to see what young people's correspondence used to be like.
Ugh.
Like these kids, their handwriting is gorgeous, but they also would write a 3-page letter that has now become, three emojis or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's astonishing. Megan would read me these letters. It's like a 22-year-old guy on a ship. And I'm like, Jesus.
It was also wartime.
It's
World War II.
gorgeous. Yeah.
And great letters.
Fantastic.
Great letters. Like
Oh, my
you
God.
would not believe.
I'd love to read
There were a
some of
few I'll send you some. There were a few guys that I got to the end, like I knew there were only 3 more letters or whatever, and I cried. I was like, why? Why didn't you pick this
Why not
guy?
him? But then you wouldn't be here.
I don't care.
Isn't that a catch-22?
It really is.
Mom, you picked the wrong. Well, hold on now.
It's inexplicable, and yet.
Well, we just so grateful you guys came here.
Oh gosh, this is so fun! I love seeing you. I love seeing you guys together. We've never
having
seen you guys
fun.
together even.
Yeah.
Cute couple.
Thank you. You should
thank
have seen
you.
us in the bathtub,
The bathtub
earlier.
was great.
Would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah.
I think our relationship definitely it's in
Went to
another
the-
level now.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't you say?
I'm curious.
Yeah.